Mandy Rose breaks her silence following her WWE release. Plus, AEW and NXT stars have reacted to the release of Mandy Rose. And we had a major upset on AEW Dynamite last night. It's all in the wrestling news right now. Mandy Rose, but when she's not breaking the internet, she's breaking the news. It was yesterday revealed that Mandy Rose has been released from her WWE contract. We have a few more details on that this morning, don't we, Andrew?
We do, yeah. So following on from last night, Fightful Select have further updated this story. It's worth noting we don't have information now as to whether or not Mandy had requested the release, if it were on WWE's side completely, or a mutual agreement. We've learned that in recent months, Mandy had indicated to others that she realised the content and nature of her page, and that could get her into trouble with management. Also, a note was passed to Fightful this week that one former WWE talent beat her best financial WWE year in 2022 with her own exclusive content page, and that, as we were talking beforehand, might not be referring to Mandy Rose there. It could be referring to somebody else.
Now, if you have missed a few beats on this one, so Mandy Rose was let go from WWE according to Fightful Select, following issues regarding her content on the website FanTime, which is a bit like a Brand Army or OnlyFans type deal, saying that it kind of crossed a threshold in terms of what was acceptable for a WWE performer. So consequently, she was let go. Mandy Rose has broken her silence following her release on two platforms. We mentioned, I believe, yesterday, the tweet that she put out that simply said, "Thank you."
Yep.
She put out a message to her FanTime subscribers saying, "Hey guys, thank you for all the messages. I'm overwhelmed with all the love and support from you guys. And don't worry, the page is still up." So she has no plans to wrap up that particular part of her business anytime soon.
I imagine that's a big viable source of income for her, so I don't see why she would pull that down. Yeah,
you do hear stories about people who, Fightful have pointed one there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was more than one, of people who are making more money on sites like Brand Army and OnlyFans and FanTime than they are in regular lines of work.
Yeah.
Regular in speech parks, work is work.
I mean, I wonder as well, like just thinking off the top of my head there, wrestling's a difficult thing to continuously do week in, week out. And if you've been doing it for a long time, I mean, this is certainly a way to earn money without the risk of really hurting yourself so much, perhaps. I mean, more power to Mandy Rose for doing so.
Absolutely more power. But obviously the news of her going has broken the hearts of some people near and dear, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. Gigi Dolan and JC Jane, obviously, both tweeted broken heart emojis following the news of Rose's release, and AEW Saraya as well tweeted, "Love you, sister, Mandy Rose." Obviously all of this has been shocking to see happen just out of nowhere. Almost, and it's the thing about an NXT Women's title run, I think, for me, that was like such a good run, a really, really good run. Like, it felt like she'd come more into her own a little bit as well, and within Toxic Attraction, that felt like a really genuine threat within the NXT Women's roster. And to see the reign end how it did, just very abruptly, sad about this, but it's nice to see that her friends are all in support of Mandy.
Yeah, because of course Saraya, back when she was WWE's page, she brought Mandy Rose to the main roster as part of Absolution. So there's a kinship there. Also, Saraya very much gone on record with her issues regarding WWE and third-party deals as well. Back in the end of 2020, when WWE went, right, no more Twitch, no more Cameo, anything like that. Saraya was very outspoken about that, saying, actually, this is a big part of my income. To get rid of that. So I imagine that there's a kinship there on many fronts with Saraya and Mandy Rose. Now, Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer Live talked a little bit more about this, and he says that the door is open for Mandy Rose to return to WWE at some point. I presume that return would come with the caveat of either a pulling back or a closing entirely of her FanTime page.
Yeah, I guess a less risque version, maybe. I'm not too sure, but it's nice to know that they're still on good terms. It feels like if the door is open, that feels as though there's still like some, a bit of what's the word? Amicable.
An amicable separation.
Yes, yeah.
Conscious uncoupling.
So I'm glad, and I'd love to see her return, and I'd love to see her go on more of a tear on the main roster as to what she had on NXT, just transfer that to the main roster, and I think we get some magic.
Because it really felt like, and we've harped on about this on news videos and such, Toxic Attraction feels like an act that is just ready to go now on the main roster.
Absolutely.
Like, that is a group that you could just drop onto Raw and SmackDown and it wouldn't feel weird. It feels like they would fit perfectly.
It's been so good because for JC Jane and for Gigi Dolan to have Mandy Rose there, I think has been a huge benefit to them. And then I think they've also been a benefit to Mandy Rose in terms of like push her as well and help her get better, because all of them feel like they've come into their own since they've been a faction on NXT, and that's really nice to see, like them bring all the good bits out of one another. So I want to see that happen.
I hope it doesn't mean that we lose sight of Dolan and Jane, because I think they're still 2/3 of an excellent act, and I'd love to see good things happen to Gigi Dolan and JC Jane. Toxic Attraction as a tag team should most definitely continue.
Yeah.
It's a rolling news story. We'll keep you posted on what happens at cultaholic.com. Dynamite last night featured what is described as the biggest upset in the history of professional wrestling, says Tony Schiavone.
History, Tom. Last night on Dynamite, obviously it was Winter is Coming. Chris Jericho faced newcomer Action Andretti, a match believed to be one where he could let off steam after his Ring of Honor title loss this past weekend. However, in a shocking turn of events, Tom, Action Andretti actually got the win using a standing shooting star press, where they run and then they do it like Ricochet does, to bag a clean win over Chris Jericho. And like you said, a short while after that, AEW called it the biggest upset in the history of professional wrestling, and Andretti was signed to an AEW contract as well.
Yeah, after that, after a very well put together match with Jericho, the crowd firmly behind Andretti, and the pin came out of nowhere.
It did.
Big pop from the crowd.
A move that we see Ricochet do quite regularly on WWE TV. We saw that and we were like, whoa, he's got the win off that. It was really nice to see, and I was thinking whilst watching it too, like Jericho's still good. Jericho still puts like the younger guys, the more newer guys coming in over, and that's really nice to see, because someone like him could just go, I'm gonna win everything. And he does that, and a lot of people, the crowd just absolutely rallying behind Andretti. I'm not really familiar with him, Tom, but I really enjoyed what I saw last night.
Well, maybe you should get familiar with him. Who is Action Andretti? So Action Andretti, a Philadelphia native, started wrestling only 3 years ago.
Wow, 3 years ago.
3 years ago, and he's phenomenal. He's a graduate of the MCW Pro Wrestling Training Center. They trained or part-trained people like Leo Rush, Mickey James, and Lita over the years, and many others as well. He's the reigning MCW champion. I think the other month he defended it against Speedball Mike Bailey. So he's got like a real pedigree there. Since his debut, he sort of focuses mainly around the northeast of the US, but he's done stuff for CCW and GCW as of late as well. This was only his 5th ever match on AEW television, and his first win on AEW television. Like, he's previously competed with and lost against the likes of Private Party, Dante Martin, and QT Marshall. So a win over Chris Jericho was not expected.
I mean, the real news here is that QT Marshall is then a better professional wrestler than Chris Jericho.
I mean, we all knew it.
We all knew it.
We all knew it anyway.
Yeah.
And then after that match, we had the brick walls, we had the All Elite logo, Tony Khan's stamp of approval. Fightful Select say that Action Andretti's been under a deal since October, quite possibly.
Wow.
On the QT Marshall. But now it's official and he's full-time. This was a great story. If he's been signed quietly since October, this is a great story to get him underway.
Definitely.
Coming in as what was essentially just going to be like a bit of fodder for Chris Jericho to win, to get a contract. You've got a great story you can tell here. Long live Action Andretti. I loved his work here. I thought he was great.
Yeah, he was really good. And to say that he only started wrestling 3 years ago, like the moves he was pulling off, everything genuinely looked picture perfect. There was like a springboard enziguri that he did, and oh my god, it looked looked like something a veteran could do.
And also bear in mind, okay, 3 years ago, one of those years was 2020.
Yeah.
One of those years doesn't really count, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
Because it's the pandemic
Wow.
year. Incredible work. Incredible scenes. I know it's a dream come true for Action Andretti, as it might be for you, owning your very own Barry the Shark. Available now at cultaholicshop.com. They're all over there.
No,
Go grab a box, Andrew, because I'm lazy. What's that? You don't know what to get for someone you love or someone you hate around there. There. You've got your hand on them right there. There's a whole box of them. You piece of garbage.
Oh,
grab him, bring him over. You just gift that. Look at these. It's okay, they've got air holes in them. 1 o'clock today, GMT, twitch.tv/Cultaholic. If you've got one of these, if you've ordered one of these, custom autograph signings, custom signature signings of your very own Barry.
Amazing.
We have 100 Barry the Sharks that need a new home, and it could be with you. Cultaholicshop.com to get that, plus loads of other great merch.
Loads of other stuff. There's prints, there's shirts, there's new hoodies, there's a whole plethora of amazing things that you could get yourself or a loved one for Crimble Mass and the holidays.
Postal strike permitting.
Postal strike, yes.
And bring me home as well, you jackass! Why wouldn't you want him in your house? Cultaholicshop.com, and then join us at 1 p.m. today, twitch.tv/Cultaholic, and bring a Barry home in time for Christmas. We'll have more wrestling news throughout the day at cultaholicshop.com. Keys.
Love you, bye.
That was for earlier.